Zero. That's what your CAD model's worth until someone actually knows how to build it. Welcome to MechTutorials. Today, why great designs die before they reach
Welcome to
production.
The Explainer. I'm absolutely thrilled you're tuning in today because we're tackling one of the most fascinating and, let's be real, most frustrating challenges in modern hardware engineering. We're talking about that massive chasm, the valley of death between a perfect digital design and a physical, manufactured product. Moving from a pristine CAD model to an actual part you can hold in your hand, it's an incredibly complex journey, and it's one that constantly ends in failure due to huge manufacturing bottlenecks and shifting corporate goals. Today, we're going to break down exactly why that happens and how the best teams out there actually survive the jump.
Zero. Yep, that's exactly how much value a CAD model sitting on a hard drive holds. Seriously, it doesn't matter how beautifully optimized or absolutely flawless your digital design is, it has literally zero value until somebody figures out how to actually manufacture the thing. It's a harsh reality, but it's the exact bottleneck where incredibly brilliant designs just go to die.
So here's our survival map for this explainer. 1. The CAD model illusion. 2. The two sourcing paths. 3. Choosing the right vendor. 4. Bridging the sourcing gap. 5. Internal corporate roadblocks. And 6. Cross-functional alignment.
All right, jumping right into Section 1, the CAD model illusion.
A CAD model sitting on your computer has zero value until somebody figures out how to manufacture it. That right there is one of the biggest misconceptions we face as engineers. You finish the CAD model, you lean back, and you think, phew, the hard part's over. But actually, that is exactly when the real work begins. We tend to view the design phase as the mountaintop, but honestly, it's just base camp. So many mechanically sound designs crash and burn right here, simply because stepping off the screen and into the physical world is incredibly unforgiving. And that leads us straight into the chaos of sourcing under pressure. Now, if you're at a massive tech giant, sure, you probably have an approved suppliers list, a whole procurement team, and decades of vendor relationships. But if you're at a startup, or maybe just spinning up a new process your company hasn't tried before, finding a vendor becomes a massive engineering challenge all on its own. You're out there walking shop floors, firing off RFQs left and right, and getting back incredibly inconsistent responses, all while the project clock is just ticking loudly in the background.
Which brings us to Section 2, the two sourcing paths. When you're backed into a corner, there are generally two traditional paths for sourcing parts, and they solve totally different problems. On one side, you have your local machine shops. The beauty here is that high-touch collaboration. A good shop lets you literally walk in, point at a feature on your part, and ask, hey, is this pocket too deep? Is it going to spike my costs? You get that real-time expert feedback. But the catch? Capacity. They can only handle so many jobs, so your RFQ might just sit there for weeks. On the flip side, we have quick-turn digital platforms. You upload a model, you get automated pricing, and boom, your parts arrive in days. Super convenient, right? And for early prototyping, that kind of speed is an absolute must. But the downside is communication. When you hit complex manufacturing issues that require real-time trade-offs, well, an automated platform just can't give you that back and forth.
Moving on to Section 3, choosing the right vendor.
So, how do you pick? It all comes down to your product's development stage. For early prototyping, speed completely beats precision. That part's probably getting redesigned in 2 weeks anyway, right? So quick-turn platforms are your best bet. But move down to engineering validation, or EVT. Now dimensional accuracy is absolutely critical. Guessing wrong at this stage could cost you a full design cycle, so you really need the direct feedback of a local shop. Finally, for production validation, or PVT, you need a certified supplier, someone who guarantees quality, scale, and supply chain stability. Trust me, these sourcing strategies are usually what make or break your project's timeline and budget.
And keep an eye out for this magic number, 50 to 1,000 units. When your volume hits that specific range, you've reached a critical tipping point. You really have to move past those quick-turn automated platforms and start building a real, solid supplier relationship. And just to be clear, this needs to happen long before you even think about having tooling conversations with overseas factories.
Let's look at Section 4, bridging the sourcing gap.
We know the traditional paths, right? But modern hardware teams are practically begging for a way to ditch the friction between slow local shops and rigid automated platforms. Enter hybrid platforms. The source material highlights these as a newer approach aiming to fix those underlying communication and capacity headaches. They basically take the speed and convenience of a digital upload, combine it with the vetted supplier network, and crucially, they maintain a direct line for real-time manufacturer communication.
The text actually points to a platform called Giga as a prime example of this hybrid model. It handles multiple processes: CNC, sheet metal, injection molding, additive manufacturing. But the real game changer is that it lets you set target pricing and chat directly with the manufacturer. In fact, there's an example where an engineer used this platform to get an SLA 3D printed enclosure and a CNC bracket delivered in just 3 days. It's like you get to have your cake and eat it too, satisfying the need for speed and complex communication without drowning in an endless chain of emails.
Okay, on to Section 5, Internal Corporate Roadblocks. Let's play make-believe for a second and assume you've entirely solved sourcing. Perfect vendor, beautiful parts, flawless design. You're ready to launch, right? Well, hold your horses. Now we hit the wall of internal corporate bureaucracy, which is honestly why so many designs still fail. Inside large organizations, hardware development is essentially chasing a moving target. You start out designing to one set of specs, but a few months in, everything shifts. Marketing pivots their priorities. Customers suddenly want entirely different features. Manufacturing flags new concerns. Regulatory rules change, or leadership just kind of loses the vision. These evolving requirements are massive internal obstacles, and they almost always show up super late in the game.
This quote from the text perfectly sums up the agony for engineering teams. The target moves so many times that development becomes an endless cycle of redesigns. It is literally soul-crushing to pour your heart into a product when there's zero internal alignment on what the thing is actually supposed to do in the end.
And that brings us to the harsh reality of resource allocation. As engineers, we love to believe that technical excellence, a beautifully optimized, mathematically flawless CAD design, will just automatically win. But here's the truth. Every single company has way more ideas than they have budget, time, or engineers. So a perfectly good design can get shelved simply because another project makes a better business case. If another project promises higher revenue or a faster impact, that's where the funding and support are going to go. Your technically perfect design? Left in the dust.
And finally, Section 6, cross-functional alignment. So how do we actually survive the journey from a digital file to a physical product on a shelf? Well, successful hardware demands cross-functional alignment. It's that simple and that difficult. Engineering, sourcing, quality, marketing, supply chain, operations, finance, and leadership. Every single one of these departments has to be rowing in the exact same direction. Think about it. If engineering builds one thing, marketing tries to sell another, and the supply chain can't even source the materials, the product is dead on arrival. Total alignment is absolutely mandatory for a design to cross the finish line.
Which leaves us with this final, provocative question. Is technical excellence alone enough to guarantee your design survives? The definitive answer, based on everything we've looked at today, is absolutely not. Technical excellence is crucial, yes, but without a firm grasp of the entire commercial lifecycle, it's just not enough. The engineers who really make an impact, the ones who master both the technical design and the commercial realities, like sourcing strategies, budgets, and corporate alignment, those are the people who actually drive successful products all the way to the market. Thanks for hanging out with me on this explainer, and I'll catch you on the next one.
So, which bottlenecks hitting your projects hardest? Drop it in the comments. Follow MechTutorials for the next breakdown.